Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining us again. The Atheist Experience is live May 25th, 2003. I'm your host, Martin Wagner, Ashley Perrien, my fine co-host, as always, and we're happy that you joined us on a sweltering Sunday afternoon. So we're going to be rocking the place for the next 90 minutes, and we're happy that you joined us. This show is sponsored, as always, by Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. ACA has weekly meetings every Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. at Hot Jumbo Bagels, which is located at 307 West 5th Street between Guadalupe and Lavaca. Except for the first Sunday of every month when we have our lecture series in the Mayor Room of the Austin History Center at 9th and Guadalupe. Now, our next lecture will be this next weekend, next Sunday.
Yes.
First of June. Our speaker will be Don Baker on the subject of the implications of viewing Christianity as a meme.
Yes.
And I think that should be very, very good. And Don has spoken to us before on memetics. And so this is sort of like a follow-up to his last talk.
Yes.
And as I understand it, I think if you visit our website and look at the calendar page, I believe we have speakers lined up through August.
Okay.
So somebody was certainly on the ball there. Great. All right, other ACA stuff we do, just very social events, include Godless Gamers, which happens every Monday night at 7 o'clock at the home of Russell and Virginia Glasser. And Atheist Happy Hour, which is Thursday evenings, starting roughly 7:30, but people trickle in all night. And that takes place at Antonio's Tex-Mex near the Highway 183 and I-35 intersection. The Nonprofits is the bi-weekly internet radio show that has been revived, although they've been fraught with some tough technical difficulties of late. But apart from that, though, they're back and they're doing it, so we're very happy to hear. Then the next episode will be 2 Saturdays from now, and it plays on Saturdays at atheistnetwork.com, or hopefully it will. They had a problem with not going out live, and we're not quite sure, what the deal is there, but it's
being worked on.
Being worked on. So at some point they will be live at the atheistnetwork.com.
2 to 3:30.
2 to 3:30 on Saturdays, or every other Saturday. Again, we'll see if that gets resolved by the time they do episode 3 of the new season. But it's good to have them back, and it was always a fun show to listen to. So there we are. University Atheists and Agnostics, which is the UT student organization, will be starting back up again in the fall semester. Spring semester's over with, and like any good college student, they're taking the summer off to partay and be responsible. And so they'll be back in the fall, and at that time, of course, new meeting times and places will be announced. So if you're a UT student or faculty member, the email address to get information on that group is uaa@mail.utexas.edu. So. Let's see, what else? I think that's about it for the announcements. For more about our group, you can visit our website at atheist-community.org, where there is all kinds of entertaining stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. But for now, I think it's news time, so let's go over and see what is happening in the world, Ashley.
All right. First news story today. This was in Brighton, Colorado. There was a judge there, or actually there was... someone there who was convicted of murdering, who was convicted in 1995, kidnapping, raping, and murdering Rhonda Maloney. The problem is, when he went to trial, the jurors relied on the Bible to decide to give him the death penalty.
The Bible, not the law.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. The literary, don't know if you got a literary.
That thing.
This thing.
Yeah.
They used that to decide that he should get the death penalty. Now, the judge was saying that of all the cases where death penalty may come up, this is one where it probably should have
if any son of a bitch deserves it, this
guy does.
It, yeah.
But the death penalty, however, must be imposed in a constitutional manner.
Right.
Jury resorting to biblical code has no place in a constitutional death penalty proceeding. Virgil said this questioned jury read and discussed biblical passages on punishment in the deliberation room for the purpose of guiding and directing certain jurors to a particular verdict.
Well, that's amazing. Guiding and directing certain jurors.
Exactly.
I like the use of the term guiding and directing.
Exactly.
You know, are we sure this wasn't bullying and intimidating?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, you had a couple of holdouts who weren't sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they, just eventually smacked them upside the head with religion.
Yeah.
You know.
Funk.
Yeah. Well, that's not how we judge, legal situations.
Exactly.
In this
We
country.
have a constitution, we have laws and stuff like that provide how do you get punished for what crimes.
Right,
we don't
exactly.
refer to 2,000-year-old fairy tale books like the Grimm Brothers to decide how we're going to punish people for crimes we know happened.
Yes. There are these there are books much bigger than that one. Okay,
Exactly.
and put together, it's called the U.S. Code, all right? And it's all our laws. And that's what we use to determine
Exactly.
judgments, verdicts, what have you.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep, we don't use Romans 13:1, which one of the jurors referred to, which says, "Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God." So essentially, with all criminals, including traffic tickets and stuff like that, let's just kill them all.
You know,
Because
who else
God
talks
is the
like
one
that?
who should decide this kind of thing.
Yeah, you know who makes their judgments based on stuff like this, who says things like that when
That's
they're
insane people.
well, fundamentalist Islamic terrorists who decide they want to let's
Exactly.
blow up this hotel that has a bunch of Americans in it because God has judged them to be unworthy infidels.
Yep.
You know, so this means that we can do what we want to them because our invisible friend says it's okay.
Yep.
You know, that's no different than.
Yep. One of the people said she testified that she reads the Bible for comfort and wisdom.
Oh, especially the parts about
apparently
killing
not getting
people.
the wisdom part.
Yeah.
So
Well, that she would read the Bible for comfort. Apparently the parts about who you get to kill seem to be the bits that she gets the most comfort from. If
she
this
gets
isn't the
she gets to
indication.
justify
Yeah.
deciding that someone should die.
No, I know
because a book
that
tells you
there are people who are opposed to the death penalty on various principles, and there are
course.
people who are not. I am not actually in general principle a death penalty opponent.
Yeah.
But you can't use one particular sectarian religious dogma, to decide how laws are going to be meted out in a country that isn't a theocracy
Yeah.
based on that particular sectarian religion.
Yeah. Regardless of how you feel about the death penalty, this is not the way it should be handed out.
Yeah.
By reading about the Bible.
So what sucks? And so what's going to happen to this guy? I mean, this guy could have had justice meted out to him, but now he could. This could.
Yeah.
Is this going to result in a mistrial?
There's going to be a new sentencing hearing for him.
Okay.
So he will be sentenced
seems
again.
to me that his defense attorney would be like all over this,
Yeah.
saying, "Whoa, mistrial,
Complete
mistrial."
yeah.
Yeah. This guy could walk because a bunch of Christians decided that God wanted him to die.
Yeah.
So this guy could walk and go out and rape and murder somebody else.
Technically
Good one,
possible.
people.
So.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, what's going to happen in a new sentencing hearing? Who knows? But that's what he's getting.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that there's going to be some kind of sentence. And for something like this, I'm assuming that he was convicted. The facts have shown that he did kidnap, murder, rape, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So he did do these things. He is getting punished for it.
Yeah.
It's just, is he going to get the death penalty?
Right.
That's what's in question now.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so hopefully at least some judgment will be handed down, because that is purely not right.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay. On to something new. Bedford, Pennsylvania, Erie County. Guy out there, Bob 4, has a big old building out there, and he has found the prime way to really tick off the council. He made a very large, 3.5 foot high by almost 100 feet wide, flashing neon sign that says Jesus is Lord.
oh, that's nice.
Placarded on the outside of his building in the historic district.
The historic district.
In the historic
so all
district.
these stately old buildings
Exactly.
had this big garish,
Exactly.
like something on, on Times Square.
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly. Flashing sign, Jesus is Lord, in the historic district. No. Now, the council obviously said, when he asked about this in the first place, the board denied the request, no kidding, because of the size of the sign, the use of neon.
It's a weird dimensions, isn't it? It's like 3.5 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, which is
I
like...
know, it must be very stretched out letters or something.
Yeah,
Lots
and then
of space.
100 feet wide?
Yeah.
So it's like really squishy.
Yeah.
Weird.
So, But
Maybe that was like the only space he had to like fit it in or something.
But they denied it because of the sign and the use of neon, all of which failed to comply with the district's historic appearance. He then found out that you can actually have signs in your windows, and that doesn't go against the board, so he put it on the outside of his windows. Now, the law actually says they can be on the inside of the window, so they're still going to make him take it down. He's obviously going to appeal it. He said his freedom of speech is being violated, and his freedom to express his religion. So.
You know, there are people who have this idea. Okay, yeah, sure, right. Okay, fine, freedom of speech. But there are some people who have this idea that freedom of speech is equivalent to the freedom to force people to listen to you.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's not the case, right? I mean, you know.
You have the freedom to say whatever you want. I have the freedom to walk away.
Yeah, we will see how friendly this guy is to the concept of freedom of speech. If somebody moves in the building across the street from his building and puts like this big flashing pornographic, picture in the window.
Exactly.
Like somebody takes some big animated GIF, of oral sex and blows it up and puts it in his window, there. So it's like 24 hours a day. It's my freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I can have this. You're preventing me from expressing my.
You're violating my constitutional rights.
It's just. Yeah.
So.
It's.
So Jesus is Lord is coming down. Hopefully.
Yes.
So.
Well, I mean, if it doesn't, it will end up being like the subject of, many
much ridicule
or many practical jokes. Probably, some joker is gonna, just do something to the sign.
Find some way to rearrange letters.
Yeah, we don't advocate, but vandalism, but So, but we'd sort of giggle if we heard the report. So,
okay.
What else?
Last story. This one is, let me see, Erie County in Pennsylvania.
Very Erie County,
Pennsylvania. Monsignor Robert V. Yarnovitz, a 74-year-old cleric at St. John Byzantine Church in Parma, was found guilty.
Uh-oh.
Now, what for?
Uh-oh.
He apparently got completely plastered. And he was walking around the town without his pants on. When the police and a hotel clerk tried to stop him, he started groping them and propositioning them for sex.
Right.
He was arrested.
He's found his inner frat boy.
He was arrested, and he is sentenced to up to 90 days and a $5,000 fine. This I'm sure was a sight to see. Seeing the 74-year-old priest out there wandering around without his pants on, completely plastered, groping police officers. Rackford said he and Yarnovitz's doctor believed the priest had an unexpected reaction to medication combined with drinks. So he's on some kind of medication. He got drunk on it.
And I'm sorry. I don't. Why would anyone think that? Okay, I'll take some medication, then I'll drink a lot of booze, and I'm having a reaction. How unexpected! What is this nonsense about an unexpected reaction to medication mixed with drinks? What unexpected if you're like, a space alien who's never been to Earth, who knows nothing about like human biology. We're like,
let's
give this guy a bunch of Xanax. Now let's give him a fifth. Boy, he's like having a hard time, isn't he?
And I do like how they have to point out in the article here, as a quote, they have to point this out. This was not characteristic behavior of Monsignor. He's not a heavy drinker.
That's good news. I know. If he did it all the time.
If this was a history that he had...
People in his church might start to suspect something. This guy never wears pants.
And he gropes policemen.
Well, Andy, who's on our crew, made the point that the best thing that you could say about all this is that... unlike Catholic priests, this Byzantine priest, at least, they're not out there molesting children. They're molesting
cops.
If they got to pick somebody to molest, this guy's going to molest a cop.
The best person you could possibly do it to.
Yeah,
They're the ones who are going to fight back and arrest you.
There you go, yeah. So if you're going to molest somebody, I mean, it's like, be stupid enough to do it to someone who will fight back. So, well.
So, and that's the latest and greatest in news
that
for the last week.
Didn't he? Okay. Right, well, so it's an amusing week then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Lighthearted.
Yeah.
So.
But not for him. All right, all kind of stuff still going on. If you've never watched the show before, this is a live call-in show, and we take phone calls from folks like you who want to talk about religious topics.
Or a religious topics.
Mm-hmm. And, however, we have, just to go ahead and point out a few things, we on our website, if you've never watched the show before, and you'd like to call us in and talk to us, that's great. We love hearing from you. And, unlike a lot of the Christian shows, unlike a lot of the right-wing shows and things like that, we don't hang up on people the minute they disagree with us. We like to hear arguments. We like to hear from people who want to challenge us and
why we're here.
Straighten us out and have cool conversations. We do that every week. We've done it for years. But on our website, which is right down there, atheist-community.org, we have a fact page, frequently asked questions, and that was assembled a couple of years ago as a way of sort of providing a little central clearinghouse for all of the most common questions that we get on the show, just pertaining to what's atheism all about, just right down to the basics, the most common questions that we've gotten from Christians. And so if you've never called us, you've never watched us, you've never listened to an atheist before, visit the website and check out the fact page, because you could get some we may have already answered the question that you have for us. And if not, call us up anyway. That's great. Also, here is look what's out. This is kind of interesting. I just found this. Apparently it's a special edition of Scientific American. I think it seems to be an anthology issue that collects a lot of articles they've had in past years pertaining to evolution, and this is available right now. And very interesting. Just many different. I haven't read all the way through it, but it talks just about many different topics. In the science of evolution and human origins, and going all the way back to genetic, and traits, and why we have different races, why some people are black and some are white.
Cool.
And,
very interesting.
But this I think could be very worthwhile reading for people who are want to know more about evolution, people who are doubters. Although, just indicating that science is this thing that marches on, right? And there's always new findings. There's at least one thing in here that I have read that is already dated, and that is that there's they talking here about how it is suspected among some people in the scientific community that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, before Neanderthals went extinct, interbred.
Oh, okay.
Saying that there's some. Now, as I understand, the most recent evidence that we have is that no, that
they did not.
Yeah, did not. There's nothing in in the DNA that indicates that there was any interbreeding between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. But I guess at the time this article, this particular article was written, it was that was being proposed as something that could have happened. But here we go. Face of our earlier stance. Why we walk on two legs. Where did people come from? Other hominids once shared our world. The reasons for skin the colors. Learn to talk, Martin. There you go. But, so, very neat. And speaking of that, we'll get onto this in a minute. We also have, because this segues kind of nicely into that, we have a viewer email page for people who either can't call in. We get to, there it is, tv@atheist-community.org. That's for TV show feedback. And that's your email address to send us questions and challenge us about stuff. Because live call-in show, like I said, but even though we're on for 90 minutes every episode, we never get around to everyone. It's just a fact. So there are always people at the end of the show still hanging on queue, and we don't get to them. Sorry, we try to get to everybody, but at the same time, we don't bring people on and then cut them off after a minute either. We like to, we'll have in-depth conversations. So tv@atheist-community.org is the viewer email address to write us emails, and whenever we get a really good email, we'll read it out on the air and discuss it on the air, and I'm about to do that. This week's emails. In fact, we had a really good week for email, I thought. First, we got a really nice fan letter from a viewer named Wayne. Thanks very Wayne, much appreciated. And yesterday, we received a Young Earth Creationist tract.
Yes.
From this guy who just sent us this thing that I guess had been prepared.
And it was about 4 pages.
Yeah, overall. And,
pretty
I read it for the heck of it, and it was just the usual, McDonald's menu of anti-science cliches that they always trot out, right? But this guy's a young earther, so I decided that I would play with him a little bit, have fun. Sort of like, a kitten toying with the mouse thing, He said modestly. No, but it turned into an exchange that went through the evening. And it's over with now. He, threw up his arms and said, well, I tried to reach your heart for God, but I couldn't, so... But the entirety of the exchange, okay, is on the website now, on the viewer email page. You can access it from the main page on the website. I think you will find it very entertaining, okay? Because, I just lay it on the line for the guy, and he's like, okay, well, you should read my website. No, dude, I don't want to read your website because here's why, all right? But you'll find it very entertaining. It's sort of like, ordinarily we would blow that kind of nonsense off.
Yeah.
But
we've heard it all so many times before.
But this is instructive because, it really gives you a good idea of how people like him think, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like, first off, back him against a corner once and for all, and you find out that it's not about scientific inquiry in the first place, right? All they want to do is win more converts, right?
Yeah.
They just want to assimilate you into the Borg. That's all they really want to do. It's not about expanding the knowledge of that the human race has through scientific inquiry. It's not even about that, although they pretend and they talk and and they make very arrogant statements about how oh well I know what real science is and all those evolutionists they just don't know what they're doing, right? And it just
kind of shows you don't know what science is.
And it's just amazing to me that and this happens everywhere. It's not just creation of the evolution thing. It's in a lot of different fields, right? I mean, there's always some kook who thinks he's figured it all out.
Yeah.
But it just, it never ceases to amaze me how, science is a very rigorous discipline.
Yes.
Okay, and it's rigorous for a reason. These are people trying to figure out facts about how the world works.
Yes.
Okay, and because there is so much information out there, okay, and there is such a large margin for error many times, okay, this is why facts have to be studied and independent sources have to come in and, some other people in your field entirely independently of you need to look at your results.
Occasionally they get changed a little bit, as the magazine said.
Yeah, they check to make sure you're right. I mean,
exactly.
The whole thing of peer review is this self-correcting measure that science has built into it.
Exactly.
Okay. So and a theory like evolution will be studied and debated for decades and decades and decades. We're 150 years now into natural selection. And evolutionary science as we know it, and it is still being studied and debated.
Yeah.
And, every week it seems like new ideas are introduced, old ideas are tossed out, others are adapted, others are changed, what have you. It is, and there are tens of thousands of professionals who devote their entire careers to this, right? And yet, there are guys like this bozo who wrote us this letter, right?
Who have studied absolutely none of it.
And who seem to think that all it takes is a website and a self-published book, and, kaboom, right? 150 years of science will come crashing to earth.
Crashing at his feet.
Yeah, like a tree before the woodsman's axe, right? And it's like, no, it just ain't that way. Yeah. It's not that simple, but, they just seem to think it is. So, for an amusing and entertaining, it's me just beating the hell out of the guy. I'll be honest, right? I mean, it's not really fair and balanced at all, okay? Because I would write a very lengthy and detailed, rebuttal to what he was saying to make sure he understood me perfectly, right? And he would write me back with one sentence. Well, you obviously haven't read my website.
Does not.
Yeah, yeah. It's exactly that caliber of argument. It's there. It's fun. You should have a good time with it. And also, finally, just our viewer email now. Just read this, and we'll go ahead and put the phone number up on screen. This is another letter we got this week, and this is also up on the website too. But this one I'll read out. The problem of evil pops up every now and again on the show, and we've actually discussed it a couple times on a few episodes previously. And we got a letter from someone named Jordan attempting to explain it all to us. And
thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. And a nice letter. And apparently a very nice, sincere person.
Okay.
Not belligerent, not arrogant. There's just somebody who has swallowed the explanation they've been given. Yeah. And again, I answered this in my usual detailed way. So I'll go ahead and I'll read Jordan's original letter and then read my response to it. And he basically says, I was just watching your TV show, and heard a conversation with thoughts on how God is compared to a person standing by and watching something brutal happen to a person. Right? I mean, this is, why do bad things happen to good people sort of thing, right? I can definitely see how this could be thought of, a God who doesn't intervene in all the situations that we would deem worthy. I have thought many times why good people suffer all over the world. I understand now that a plan was put forth to all of us before we came here to this earth and we all accepted it. Now that's an interesting idea. Apparently we agreed to something before we were born, Ashley.
Exactly.
I don't remember this, but apparently we did it. Okay. Yeah, so that's nice to know.
Can we get copies of the contract?
I'd like one faxed to me or something, if we could. Anyway, this plan would allow us to come to Earth, gain a physical body, and learn how to become more like our Father in heaven. All right, sounds like a plan to me. We were also given agency to choose how we would live our life here on Earth. We would be able to choose whether or not we would follow correct principles and have a happy life. Of course, some people here on Earth would not make the best choices, and the repercussion of their choices would affect the people around them. Now, as much as this does not seem fair in our eyes, as we watch people suffer all around us, we need to remember that God would interfere, but he cannot because of the promise which he has made to allow us to have that free agency. If God, I know, I know, it's like, if God was to interfere, he would cease to be God. Those people who do horrible things in this life will be punished for what they do in the life to come. That is the way God set things up. Our problems and trials may seem like they are unbearable in this life, but they will be but a short moment in the long run. And then he goes on to say, commend you for following what you believe, blah, blah, blah. And wraps up by saying, for myself, I have come to believe that there is a God who is our Father, and he does want us to be happy in this life, even through all the hardships that we may face. Again, thanks for your time. Well, thanks for your letter, Jordan. But here's my problem with it.
I just have
You go first. I'll read my
one really quick question on this. Apparently, there was a contract or something that I agreed to before I was born, which I don't remember, first off.
Yeah.
And two, assuming all this is true, when I knew that there was a God and he was going to punish me for doing wrong things, I still made the really boneheaded decision before I was born to say, well, I'm going to follow a bad life anyway?
Well, I think, it's like you'll...
Is that it? As in, we had this decision on what kind of life we had to live
what would be
before
the
we were born.
I
chose the wrong path.
Yeah. Well, what would be the point of the plan if the whole idea is, okay, here, you get to come to Earth, have a physical body, and learn to be more like your Father in heaven, but you still get the free choice not to be that way if you don't want to be. Well, then what the heck is the point of, making people agree to a thing like that anyway? It's sort of like you go to a used car dealership and the guy says, okay, you can pay for this or have it for free. It's like, why even offer? Yeah. But anyway, here's my response to Jordan. And, okay, basically I said, what you have come up with is basically a list of excuses and justifications that allows your God to have it both ways. He gets to be the moral authority over human beings without himself having to display moral responsibility. Implicit in your belief is the notion that God knows there will be innocent victims of the actions perpetrated by those who use their, quote, free agency to do bad things, and that God is okay with this. Allowing innocent victims to be hurt is evil by definition. The simple truth is that a moral being would prevent immoral acts from occurring if he is in a position to do so. As I said on the show, if the only people to be hurt by evil acts were the people who chose to do those evil acts, your argument might be persuasive. But the fact that there are innocent victims simply destroys your argument. God's refusal to prevent innocent victims from suffering makes him definitely immoral and most likely evil. For one thing, what's the big deal about free will anyway? Why would God cease to be God if he exercised moral authority to prevent bad men from doing bad things? If a parent were to prevent their child from beating up their younger brother or setting the tablecloth on fire, would they cease to be parents because they've interfered with their child's free agency? That's just ridiculous. And how, pray tell, are people supposed to learn to be more like their Father in heaven if his plan involves sitting on his divine behind and never displaying any sort of moral responsibility towards the people he supposedly wants to have a happy life? Unless this is the lesson God wants people to learn, and why would anybody want to learn that they shouldn't do anything to alleviate pain and suffering and help those in need? Appealing to some divine punishment in an alleged afterlife doesn't help you either. It is simply morally and intellectually lazy to appeal to an afterlife the existence of which has not been proven as a way of justifying the evils in the world your God allows to happen. I know crimes exist. I know bad people exist. I know innocent victims exist, but I don't know that a God, a heaven, or a hell exist. And frankly, neither do you. You just believe it. It is irresponsible to justify proven evils by appealing to unproven supernatural justice that must be taken on faith. All you have done is come up with an excuse that allows you to feel better about things like terrorist attacks and children being kidnapped, raped, and murdered. But it does nothing to address the actual hurts being inflicted upon those innocent victims. And to be perfectly honest with you, to tell a 9-year-old child who's been raped by a vicious psychopath that her problems and trials may seem like they are unbearable in this life, but they will be but a short moment in the long run, has got to be the single most insensitive and cruel thing you could possibly say. How horrible it is to dismiss the murder of a child by saying, well, that was a bad thing, but it's all okay because she's in heaven now with God. And if it all still comes down to free will for you, ask yourself this: whose free will is really more important here, the criminals or the victims? By saying that God won't prevent the vicious rape murder of a child because he cannot interfere with free will, you are referring only to the free will of the criminal, not the victim. Presumably the victim has free will too, and her free will is telling her, I don't want to be raped and murdered today. But by letting it happen anyway, God is basically favoring the free will of the rapist murderer over that of the victim. And that, Jordan, makes your God just as evil as he is. Finally, your argument fails to address the problem of natural disasters and things for which no human agency was responsible. Unless, of course, you think that people who are killed by tornadoes choose to be killed that way. And if that's your view, I look forward to hearing your argument on it. And so that was my response to that. So
Go Martin.
That letter was received on Tuesday, and in the intervening days, I haven't heard a peep from Jordan, I fear. So maybe he's still thinking it over and will get back to us. But there we go. That's why the appeal to free will just doesn't work as a rebuttal to the problem of evil. Unless, of course, you are a deist.
Yes.
And you're somebody whose idea of God is basically he created the universe and then he went away and he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And he doesn't intervene and he has no interest in human beings at all. If you're a deist, then then the problem of evil is not even an issue.
Exactly.
Okay, but if you want to...
He doesn't interfere in the world. He doesn't do anything. There's no reason to believe in him, no reason to worship, no reason to do anything.
If you want to propose the idea of an omniscient, omnibenevolent, all-powerful, all-loving God, then the problem of evil is a problem, okay? And, boy, the phone's really lit like an airport runway with that one. So we're just going to go to these in order. And we've got Chris on line 2 first, so we'll see what he has to say. Hey, you're on the air.
How's it going?
Oh, we're good?
I think the letter you just read was more of the guy's personal opinion on religion and why God acts the way he does, as opposed to something that has like biblical foundation. I don't think it says anywhere in the Bible you sign a contract before you're born. That was in his letter. That's not in the Bible.
Oh yeah.
Well, but the thing about
you responded to this guy's opinion. You gave a pretty in-depth response to him, but. I mean, part of it is just what he thinks personally. It doesn't have any foundation.
Well, the thing about these kinds of supernatural beliefs is they can be pretty much interpreted however you want to interpret them. Yeah. I mean, it's open season for believers to essentially say, okay, well, here's how I choose to believe my beliefs. And...
but you're attacking the believer or you're attacking religion?
Well, again, the nature of religious beliefs...
Theological ideas, mostly.
Yeah.
Whether it comes from
you just did pretty much explained how you guys act. Like, what his opinion on God had nothing to do with that in the Bible.
Well, who cares?
Well, that doesn't matter. Yeah. It's still an illogical belief system, regardless of whether it came from the Bible, some other holy book, or he just, that's his own revelation. It doesn't make sense regardless of where it came from.
I see, again, what he has done is he has come up with a way, to reconcile earthly evils with a God that he wants to believe in, who is supposed to be this all-powerful, all-loving God who protects us. But people get hurt anyway, and so there's a quandary there, and this is the way that Jordan has figured it out in his mind and come up with ways in which to rationalize and excuse the actions that take place in the world, that would ordinarily seem to be disconfirming evidence of the existence of a loving God who protects us. Yeah, he's figured out a way to reconcile the two things so that he gets to have his loving, all-powerful God who will love us and protect us, but who still doesn't, in those cases when, say, a terrorist wants to crash a plane into your building. He's figured out a way to justify it, and that's what all religious people do, it seems, in all cases. When their belief systems come crashing headlong into the abutment of reality, they have to figure out a way to sort of get around it and go, oh, wait, this puts me in what it's called a crisis of faith. Like when you hear people, sometimes you'll hear religious people, they're confronted by tragedy, and they will say, I'm having a crisis of faith right now, because something has happened in their lives that doesn't seem to jive.
The opposite way too. If a miracle happens and you thank God, I mean, isn't that the same thing, but just in reverse?
Well, what do you mean by when a miracle happens?
You keep putting down all these things that it fails, like this guy's coming up. But I mean, personally, you're attacking that guy. You're not attacking religion. That's his opinion, but it doesn't have any foundation religiously.
Well, it doesn't matter. If he's got an irrational belief system, if he's got an irrational belief system,
you're making the show come across as you're putting down just people's own beliefs that aren't really based on anything biblical.
I don't care if the beliefs are based on anything biblical or not. If the beliefs are irrational, if they are poorly argued and illogically structured, I'll criticize them on those terms. And those were the criticisms. That was the nature of the criticisms that I was giving him. Here is why what he wrote me. I was only criticizing what he wrote me. Now, if or somebody else
didn't have any foundation religiously, so why should you?
Well, he seems to think it does. So he seems.
As atheists, what are you proving? You're just taking somebody's opinion and you're just putting it down because you don't think it's right, but you're not even going back and trying to find any references in the Bible.
That's not our job. It's not our duty to go back and find references in your Bible to make the crazy beliefs that you espouse make sense. It's not our job.
What he said was not true biblically, so I'm bringing it to your attention.
Well, you shouldn't be bringing that up to our attention because we don't care.
Just knock it down and somehow tie it to religion.
Chris, hold on. It's not our job to do that. If you think he was misinterpreting the Bible, don't tell us. We don't care. Tell Jordan.
5 minutes of your show devoting it to that.
Yeah. What basically happened is we have an email address. Mm-hmm. He wrote us unsolicited. Mm-hmm. He wrote us and said, "Here's my beliefs. Here's what you talked about in the show, and here's why it's incorrect. It's a problem of evil. We have free will. Blah blah blah." Mm-hmm. And we wrote back and said, "It doesn't make sense, and here's why." Now, should we have just coddled his beliefs and said, you wrote us and, okay, fine. That's what you believe. It doesn't make any sense, but okay, fine.
Well, how's that tied to atheism?
Well, when
it's rational thought.
You don't believe in God or Jesus? You don't have any belief, any kind of...
It's rational thought. I mean, we have a reason for believing what we believe or not believing what we don't believe. And we're trying to point out why this didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's all that rational thought.
Well, again, it's and getting back to your original point, it is not our job to go back to the scriptures in your Bible and point out, what the biblical scriptural basis for the arguments may or may not be. Yeah. Again, we can
a lot of your shows.
We can only respond to the arguments that we are given by the Christians who approach us and say, "Here's what I believe." That's all we can respond to. I was responding to what Jordan wrote. Now, if you think that Jordan's beliefs don't have any biblical basis, well, goody. Tell Jordan, okay? We don't care, But the thing is, when you have a kooky belief system at all, okay? See, this is the thing. When you have a belief system that isn't rational to begin with, you're going to get believer A saying this is how it works, and you're going to get believer B saying, no, this is how it works, okay? But that's y'all's problem. Okay? These doctrinal and scriptural differences that you guys have are things that believers need to work out amongst themselves. We only respond to the arguments that we're given. And if I think an argument's flawed, rationally or logically, I'm going to point out what I think the flaws are in the argument. That's all we're doing. That's it.
Okay, well, I just thought that you're doing something that has to do with atheism, and you're really not.
How does presenting a counter argument to a religious argument not have anything to do with atheism?
It was his personal belief system that he conjured part up in his own mind.
But that's religion. Religion is people coming up with things in their own mind saying, I have an invisible friend who talks to me.
Religion is based on the Bible, and people,
well, Christianity is based on the Bible.
So you could make these little alterations and I don't understand. You devote half your show to putting down things that people who are involved in religion do in the beginning, and then you take this letter from this guy who doesn't even base his letter on anything that's really religiously founded, so you're trying to get the...
I don't care
if people call in and give us religiously founded arguments that are based on letter-by-letter interpretations of this, then we debate that too.
They should have recognized that his letter wasn't based on anything in that Bible.
Again, we don't care.
So we should have just said, your beliefs are just plain stupid because they're not based on anything written down.
He devoted like at least a 5-minute response to the opinion of this guy. So.
We don't care if your opinion is based on what you think the Bible says, or what Jordan thinks the Bible says, or what Joe Blow thinks the Bible says. If some believer comes up and says, this is what I believe and this is why I believe it, I'll listen to the specific argument he gives me, and then I will respond to that. Okay, now, again, like I said, if you think what Jordan said had nothing to do with what the Bible says about how God is or the way God treats people, then you need to tell Jordan that, okay? We don't care. It's not our job to make sure that you guys are interpreting your Bible properly. We don't care, okay? We're just the guys who listen to the arguments you bring us and respond to those specific arguments. All right? So, thanks for calling. I mean, I don't understand. It's just like, since when is it our job to make sure Christians are interpreting their Bible properly?
Yeah.
You know?
Because every time we even try and go in that territory, they say, well, you're just taking it out of context and misrepresenting it, reading the wrong parts, and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, if you want to make an argument based solely on the Bible, go right ahead.
But again, but how do you do that? Because one Christian A, will read the Bible, and he will get a certain belief out of it.
Yeah.
He will get a certain attitude towards things like, the role of women in society, or the death penalty, or how to be a good parent. Okay, a Christian will read the Bible, and they will read the Scriptures, and they will interpret that in such a way that that they'll get a particular message out of it. Christian B, in another town or down the block or in another house, will read those same passages, but he might not interpret them the same way. Yeah. And that's the thing about religion, right? Yeah. Okay, there really are no guidelines to follow. Like Chris said, it's all about belief, but Chris seems to think that his way of believing Christianity is correct and Jordan's is incorrect. Well, if that's what he thinks, good for him. Again, we don't care. Tell Jordan if you think he's interpreting the Bible properly. It's not our job to make sure Christians are interpreting the Bible properly. I mean, just ridiculous. Let's see what Kim has to say. Hi, Kim.
Hi. Question. What does atheist mean?
An atheist is a person who does not believe in any gods.
You don't believe in? Well, what do you believe in?
Well, atheists can have many different beliefs. I mean, there are atheists who may be conservative. There are atheists who are liberal. There are atheists who like one particular branch of philosophy.
Were you raised this way?
No, I was actually raised in a Baptist church.
Are you for real?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then, I mean, what turned you around?
I just was thinking about a lot of the things I was being taught. I had questions that I was bringing up. I wasn't getting answers that were satisfying me. And I just began to really think critically about what I was hearing, and I was also very uncomfortable with what I saw as being the actions of Christians in the 80s. When I was young and going to church, that was when like the moral majority and people like that were active. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you had, of course, the televangelist scandals, but that wasn't the only thing. I mean, mainly it was just this. I was learning things. In my reading, I've always been a voracious independent reader, and I would study things in school, and I would have questions for my Sunday school teachers and my pastor that just weren't really, I wasn't really getting satisfying answers to. Now, I remember I have very good, very fond memories of of the days, my adolescent days in the youth ministry. I mean, like going to camp and stuff like that. I do have fond memories of those days, but what it came down to me ultimately was I wasn't getting satisfying answers. It wasn't making sense anymore. It wasn't standing up to scrutiny for me.
But I know this is just like a great big mess. I don't understand how we all got here. Do you?
I don't claim to have those answers, but all I can say is,
you don't think there was a God?
I don't think there is one, no. I mean, I could be wrong.
I wonder,
I could be completely
wrong. I was raised
wrong.
Baptist too,
Mm-hmm.
My mom brought us up in the Baptist church, and I don't even know what Baptist means. I just go because she raised us, that way.
Yeah, I think that's the case for most
a lot of people go to church, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think church sometimes, I think it's just a big scheme, a money thing.
It's a business. It always has been a business.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure that many believers are perfectly sincere, and that's and that's fine. And my parents are still very devoutly religious, and we get along great.
So
I know there's
good people. Hell?
No, I don't. I think that hell was concocted to scare people into the pews.
So where do you think you're going to go when we die?
I don't think we go anywhere when we die.
We just go back into dirt, huh?
Kim, where does the flame go when you blow out a candle?
I don't know.
No, I think
Same thing.
I think it goes away, right? It doesn't go to some magic land of candle flames. It just goes.
It doesn't go to paradise?
Well, if there is a nice candle
big furnace
paradise
in the sky,
yeah, it'll be awfully hot there with all these little candle flames. But look, when people ask me about what do you think of life after death,
I want to ask y'all a question.
Yeah, when people ask me about life after death, I'm like, hey, I think that's a great idea. But I need more. I need evidence. Atheists, generally speaking, are not people who are inclined to just take claims on faith. We're just not like that. So if I get good evidence that there's a nice, happy place I go to after I die, then I'm like, cool. But so anyway, did you have another question?
Yes. Who do you think wrote the Bible?
A bunch of people. A bunch of people.
A lot of independent people got together, wrote the Bible, wrote one story. It's split up into two when they changed the stories, and then they put it back together again, and then they threw some parts out, put some other parts back in.
It took several centuries to assemble the Bible.
Here we go.
Y'all look like the ones that read the Bible. Y'all look like the ones that wrote it.
Oh, I do? Well, okay then. Anyway,
Sorry,
thanks a lot. Who wrote the Bible talks about the Old Testament.
Yes.
And the New Testament took 200 years to put together.
Yes.
And there's still a lot of it that was left out.
And a fair bit is still in debate about whether or not this should have been in there, shouldn't have been in there, stuff like that.
And there are a lot of the suppressed New Testament writings, like Gospel of Thomas, that your church doesn't want you to read.
Yeah.
Because it's one that doesn't talk about Jesus as being a holy divine person. He's more of a teacher. Yeah. And the church doesn't like that. So, again, the Bible is just a companion of books put together over years. Who's next, Mike? Who's next?
Yep.
Mike, is he on 3? Okay, he's been waiting. Hey, you're on TV.
Hey, guys, what's up?
We're good.
First off, I just want to say you guys are doing a great job.
Why, thank you.
It's a really great show. One of the more compelling ones on Access.
Well, I appreciate it.
Probably the most.
Thank you.
Well,
I just, I wanted to, I read something the other day online, and very interesting. It was from the NCES website about Project Steve.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you guys have seen that.
When was that? It was a few weeks back, right? It was,
that was a couple months ago.
Very
actually.
funny.
Yeah, and it's one of the more compelling things that you can find. And I was just wondering if you guys might put a link to that, maybe at some point, or put it. I know it's on the Talk Origin website, but it's an amazing thing. It's actually a lot of people don't understand. Even here locally, there was a Nobel Prize winner from the University of Texas.
Steven Weinberg, would that be?
I believe so.
Yeah, Steven Weinberg.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
just to inform the folks at home, Project Steve was this humorous response by the scientific community to creationists. The creationists always like to use appeals to popularity, or they'll trot out their own PhDs.
Here's a whole bunch of PhDs and ancient old scientists who said that yes, we were created. There is a God and all this kind of stuff.
And so what a bunch of scientists did was they found 200 scientists, and all of whom were named Steve.
Yeah.
Or
Stephanie, right? And got them all, to lend their support to evolutionary biology. And with the idea being, it's like, okay, look, creationists can trot out all these PhDs. Well, we've got 200 guys just named Steve. Okay. Now, of course, and they only represent a few of the scientists in the world, so you can imagine all the rest of them who have other names. But, of course, it's a fallacy anyway when the creationists bring up, it's like, oh, look, well, we've got all these guys with PhDs, which is, the appeal to authority. It's like, okay, you can trot out 150 guys who have PhDs, fine. Having expensive letters after your name doesn't mean you're always right about stuff.
Yeah. What I find interesting is that the scientific community is very, they have a tendency not to respond to, because they're working on their own side of their research. And I thought this was a hilarious way to kind of.
It was very funny. Yeah.
And it's like, if you go to the doctor, you go to, you're going to somebody, if you go, say a woman goes to the OBGYN, they are the, that's who handles that field. If you want to understand about biology, about, these people are at the forefront of this technology, and like you said, it's under peer review.
Yeah, and it's their careers. I mean, these are people who are, who have devoted their lives to the study of this field.
Exactly.
Okay, so you'd think they have a clue here.
Right.
But again, you get these guys who on the web, like this clown who wrote us last week. He's got his little self-published book, which is probably 150 pages in very big type. Okay, and he's like, "This is all there. I have destroyed all of I'm right, and all of biology, all of archaeology, all of anthropology, all of paleontology, all of astronomy." All of these scientific fields are wrong, and I'm right, and my little website proves it. You get guys who think this way, and it's just
right. And I think another thing is it's so complex to get into, and most people find it easier just to opt out for something that they don't have to really, I mean, if you really want to understand this stuff, you have to sit down and devote a lot of time to it.
You do,
and it's much easier just to say, I'll.
And like I say, if you already have some kind of biblical-based beliefs, these are things that you don't want to hear about, you don't want to know. You don't want to hear that we came from monkeys.
Right.
Which is essentially what, if you boil it down far enough, that's what people, seem to think, is that we all just came from monkeys.
Right.
And so, and then before that, it was just, pond scum. And so they think, oh my God, you're just saying that we're pond scum? Well, screw you.
And the funny thing is I keep getting this Hovine character that comes up everywhere.
Kent Hovind, yes.
He's lots of fun.
With the bogus $250,000 challenge.
I can't tell you how many people have thrown that one back at me, and I'm just like, but you can't. It's not something you can just talk about over a few beers. I mean, this is something that you really, that has been refuted over and over again, and it's amazing. But it's something you really have to study if you want to. But you guys are doing a great job, and
we appreciate it.
I'll let you go. And
all right. Well, thanks a lot, and we'll do it. I think that's a good idea. We'll locate Project Steve on the web, and we'll put it there for people to chuckle at.
Yeah, and they have T-shirts. So.
Oh, they do. Okay. Well, we can't plug products, but it's nice to know they've got them there.
All
so,
right. Thanks.
Well, hey, thanks for your call, Mike. Take care. Oh. So, all right. I think Kelly's been holding actually longer, has she? We'll let Kelly talk first, and then go to. So, yeah. Oh, no, what? We'll go to, well, no. Kelly, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks for going to me first.
Yeah, sure.
I watch you guys a lot.
The other guy's just our producer. We're like, he can hold.
Cool. I watch you guys often, and I'm a big fan, and I really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
It's one of those shows I kind of forget about, and I seem to run into you guys a lot, so I'm glad you're out there.
Uh-oh.
I just wanted to bring up a point that it seems to me, I just want to see if you agree with us, but it seems to me that do you find that every time that a Christian seems to call the show that they seem to be much more emotional, and they get very into what they're saying more so than any other kind of caller? Yeah. And if you... you
wouldn't be talking about Chris, would you?
Yes, that's in reference to like Chris or somebody else, and if you... had anything to say about that?
Well, it upsets believers.
Sure.
When you challenge their, preciously held beliefs. It's upset. We recognize that. I mean, we know that our show is of a controversial nature. We know that in polite society, things like sex, politics, and religion are stuff you're not supposed to talk about. But, when you consider all of the pro-religious programming that's out there, and there are entire networks devoted to it,
right?
The fact that our show, we're on 90 minutes a week providing the counterpoint, I don't think that that's an unreasonable thing, but yeah, it's we understand that there are probably going to be some Christians confronted by our program who are upset at the things we're saying. Mm-hmm. That's fine. At the very least, though, that's why we throw the phones open. Is a lot of these believers probably haven't really dug in and thought about the things they believe in.
Well, do you think that I also.
Some have, but they've never been challenged in a real hardball way that we do it here on the show. And if they're bothered by it, if we are at least making them try to think it through and presenting them with something that they may never have had before, which is a forum to argue these things, then fine.
But do you think that also it could be that also in a state like that, you're on TV, somebody just said something that you feel very passionate about, you feel kind of like you're put in a spot that you're not used to being, you're nervous because you're talking to people in a kind of a forum that you're not used to talking about, like you feel like you've got to defend what you believe so, impassionately about, and you just kind of, you feel flustered, it's a strange place to be, and I think a lot of times, I think it's kind of unfair, and they come across as not coming across very good, and, a lot of times, the people that are sitting at home on a Sunday afternoon are probably not the best representation of, the more intellectual side of a Christian community. And as a Christian myself, a lot of times I'm like, oh God, when they're on there, I'm just like, please, shut up. It's just like,
okay, then so we'd rather hear from you then.
And so it's just like, on behalf of Christians,
and look, we talked to loads of nice and very thoughtful and well-spoken Christians. Yes. And that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, just if you don't know what you're talking about and you feel just, like you just want to yell and scream at these guys, just do it like I do, do it to the TV, or, write them an email, but don't get on there and just be like, and freak out and just vomit a bunch of useless information.
Well, a lot of people,
it's just not going to happen.
A lot of people, again, haven't really debated this to any great extent before. And so they think they're going to be able to call in and say, what if you found a watch on a beach?
Sure.
And all of a sudden we're going to have this revelation that, oh my God, you were wrong the whole time.
Or they can, like
it just doesn't go down like that.
Say something like, as though it's like, oh, well, that guy who wrote that letter you responded to, he wasn't interpreting the Bible properly.
Exactly.
Well, since when is that our problem?
Going to do for you guys?
Yeah, since when is that our problem?
Somebody else. It's just going to get like somebody like me to be like, be quiet, don't say that, don't say that. No, be quiet. No, it's going to piss them off. Don't do that.
No, we don't. We don't lose our temper at our callers. Unless,
I know.
Unless
and I respect you guys for doing that. You keep it. Yeah. You always stay very cool. You don't let emotion get into it. That's the thing that I think Christians need to work on.
Well, I think
you just need to maintain.
Kelly, I think what it is that many people, certainly not all, I think many people who are believers haven't really thought it through. They, they believe because they've been raised that way.
Right.
They've never been presented with a situation in which they've had their beliefs challenged. And as a result, they're quite insecure about their beliefs, actually. It's not really, when something is, when you are told all of your life, here's a belief system, take it on faith because that's the virtuous thing to do, and you haven't really had to defend it from a rational perspective, you're going to be very insecure. Exactly. And when somebody hits you with an argument that you just don't know what to do, so you'll lash out, like this guy who is the young Earth creationist who wrote me, who finally, at the end of it all, was reduced to just saying stuff like, well, I've tried to reach your hardened heart, but it's sort of like, all right, so this was never what it was about for you anyway. So that's fine, so why don't you just call us in the future, Kelly, and we won't talk to anyone else. How's that?
Well, can I just leave it on a nice positive note? For all your watchers out there that are Christians, the best thing to do, just get involved with a group of Christian intellectuals that like to discuss and debate issues, educate yourself. Come at it like studying the Bible is like learning anything else that you want to learn about, like studying like any subject in school. It's not only a religion, but it can be a philosophy and it can be a subject of study.
Right. Well, if you watched the show a couple weeks ago when we had Brian Bazell as a guest, who is a religious studies major at UT, what he indicated was that if you really want to know this stuff, it takes a lot of study. It takes an uncanny amount of study.
It does.
And a lot of study that most believers just haven't done, to understand the origins. So, so get people to study the stuff and then call us up.
And then call. Yeah. And then defend yourself.
Call us up and yell at us. And,
and typically, I've said several times on the show, actually, in the past, that we're not here to make converts or anything. We're not here to tell people like your belief is wrong or anything like that.
Exactly.
We're here just to argue a debate and make you think about it.
Which can be the best thing in the whole world, and it's so much fun when when you've got two people coming from a different place and each of you know what the hell you're talking about, that can be the best thing in the world.
Yeah. And so even if somebody walks away from this show, if a caller calls in, Christian, calls in, debates us, and walks away with a strong, more secure in their faith than when they called in the first place.
Well, I'd be a little disappointed in that.
I'm still happy with the situation. At least they thought critically about their ideas.
Exactly.
And they came up with some way to defend it.
Exactly.
Now, whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter as much
as
As
you
just
both went
thinking
away
critically
thinking.
about it.
Yes.
They've thought about it. That's great.
Yes, I agree.
So many people don't think anymore.
I know.
But,
I agree.
Well, fine. But call us. But whether you think or you don't think, we're gonna we'll hardball you on the show regardless. So
Okay.
thanks for talking, Kelly, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for calling.
Okay, now we'll talk to Russell. Hey,
Hi there.
how are you doing?
One thing I'd like to say to Kelly, who said that you guys don't get emotional when talking to Christians,
Well-
is obviously never heard Jeff.
Well, when he was.
Yeah.
Well, here's the, Jeff would really pummel guys, and that was his approach. What I like, my hosting approach is to just when we get a really really pinheaded caller.
Yeah.
It's just just lampoon them without mercy, and and that's my approach. But most of our callers are have really good questions for us, and whether they're inarticulate or very articulate, they're still going to get honest responses from us, whatever.
Yeah, we don't get really highly emotional calls all that often, really. I mean, it does happen, obviously, but not too often does it really just turn just blaring, flame war.
Yeah, there's one time that happened recently that I remember, but that was. But that was just somebody who called to attack us, and so he got it in kind. But most of the time we don't get that. So.
Another thing that I would say to people who just don't know how to argue, if I can throw in a quick shameless plug here, is check out the last 2 issues of the Atheist newsletter online, because I've been writing a series of articles called The Art of Debating.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But anyway, what I was really calling about was to let you know, you were asking about the nonprofits in the beginning.
Yeah, what's up with that?
We were actually all there, except for Jeff, who was sick, but we had a great show lined up with Michelle and Ron Baker about a couple of conventions.
Yeah.
And, well, long story short, the Atheist Network messed up again. And it played last time's episode. And we were going to post it anyway, but it turned out I wasn't recording. So, to make up for
you had a Homer Simpson moment there, Russell.
Yeah.
Right. No! Okay, well, all right.
So to make up for it, we're going to be redoing that show next week. Hopefully it'll go out live, and then we will be doing yet another show the week after that.
Oh, okay, so that's
excellent.
coming Saturday. Then.
Okay.
All right, okay. Well, happy to know that then.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Good job with that other caller, and talk to you later.
Thanks, and again, we'll make sure that you guys, hopefully, you guys will get on the air this time, and we'll have live nonprofits for everyone.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thanks.
Take care.
See ya.
Okay, that was Corrina on line 3 is here to maybe she'll straighten us out. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
What can we do for you?
So I just wanted to, you guys talked about believer as being not very secure in general.
Well, that's some people.
Yeah, some people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not, I don't know if I could consider myself a religious or not.
Mm-hmm.
That, excuse my English, I'm not from the country. My background is Muslim.
Oh, all right. Well, your English is at least as good as mine. I can't talk half mornings, so.
And so I never believed in Islam or any religion at all.
Mm-hmm.
I read the Bible, and I talked to Jewish people, and for me it's all the same. It's all a big book, and it's all little differences in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So that I am a believer because I need to believe in something. And sometime in my life, it's really rough, and nobody can do anything for me except for some entity that maybe help me morally. So I don't know. You can't say that believers are insecure. Maybe they are insecure. Maybe I am insecure. That's why I need something.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I'm not.
I wouldn't go that far.
Not gonna. That is, of course, much of the appeal of religion. Okay, is this idea that when life gets really hard and when you're down in the dumps, that God loves you. And everything will be okay because all you have to do is trust in Him, et cetera, et cetera. There is the emotional appeal to all those times in your life when you're down. But the thing is, everyone gets down. Everybody has bad days, bad patches in their. Some people have bad years, so everybody goes through ups and downs in their emotional state. And I'd say, is it really the entity that brings you out of it, or is it just the belief in the entity? And if it's just the belief in the entity, then, it seems to me that could be anything, right? That could be,
exactly.
That could be, it could be your love for your family. It could be just having a dog to hug. It could just be the belief in, it's not really so much when believers say, oh, well, I went through this horrible depression when, my relationship broke up, et cetera, but, the love of God saw me through it. Well, what they're talking is it's not a God that did anything. It's just they had this thing that they were able to tap into.
Yeah.
That, and so now, can you see, so a lot of people say, well, you mean old atheists, you want to take that away from people and deny them that experience and da-da-da-da. It's not that. It's just that the point is that, you can get through things. Atheists go through bad patches too, and again, we just...
Yeah, I just want to know, how do you go through those without... Yeah. I don't think a love for your dog or for your family will really is a very good support. At least not for me.
Well, I don't know. I have a supportive family. Not everyone does. Not everybody can rely on that. What happens when what I realized because I went through a period after my marriage broke up that I was feeling bad. I had to realize that this is a period of time that I'm going through. It will not last forever. What I need to do to get out of it is get out of it. I need to make the choice that I don't want to be unhappy anymore because being unhappy is no fun, and I need to concentrate on the things that do make me happy. My work, my career, my friends. If I'm not in a position in my life that I want to be in professionally, I realize that I can pray and pray and pray saying, God, please, help me get a raise or help me move up the ladder, what have you. Or I can just get out there and crack my knuckles and work to be where I need to be.
Yeah, I do that too. But in the initial phase, when you are really down, you need something to hang on to.
Well, see, again,
it could be a chimpanzee, a bird. I don't know what the God is. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I don't care. And I think for me, God is here for me. I'm not here for him because I can't do anything for him. He's here for me when I need him. I'm not going to go and do anything for him. It's a purely selfish thing. Yeah. And that it's my God. I believe that I am a believer in something.
Yeah. And it is hard, like say, when something initially bad happens and you're hit with that immediately, it is hard to get over that.
Exactly.
But like say, what we try and do basically, or at least what I try and do, is come to the realization that as all the self-help people and everything put it, essentially that you have control over your feelings. Mm-hmm. The only way that you're going to feel bad is if you let something do it. You have the choice to say, no, I've got better things to do with my time than to sit around and mope all day. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to find some more constructive way to do things with my time.
You can say, I can take this bad experience, learn a lesson from it, and say, I'll make sure that doesn't happen again.
It's not easy. It's not easy. But it's a much better way to do things.
What we dislike, what tends to bother most atheists, right, is the message that religion feeds you. Okay, that human beings cannot.
Yes.
It is impossible for a human being to simply rely upon their own inner strength, which to get through bad patches. It's like you can't do anything. People cannot. Make it through the day without prayer, without God, without, the guiding light from above. It's impossible. It's all hopeless. You have to give everything over to God because if you don't, your life is just going to be in the dumps all the time. This is the religion. This is the hook that religion hits you with, and to make you essentially emotionally dependent. That, to me, is the danger, okay? And it's really not terribly far removed. The way mainstream religion does it is not terribly far removed from the way the more fringe cults do it, where they say, oh, you're miserable. Your life is horrible. It's awful. There's no hope for you. But come join us and be part of the family, and all will be better. If you don't, they take people who are vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable, and that's when they get you. Yeah. And that's, and so it's one thing to say, well, a person may, like you as an individual, well, I'll, the way you get through a crisis is to say, well, I'll have an inner faith in a higher power that sustains me. It's one thing for that to be like an individual's choice, although I would argue that an individual doesn't really have to go about it that way. There's other more practical ways to do it. But I can't tell people how to live their lives. Yeah. But there's that, and then there is the way organized religion goes out there and actively, preys on the vulnerable. When you have people like Franklin Graham with his Samaritan's Purse organization, where they go to places that have been hit with monsoons. And so you have, in third world countries where you have all of these people who are, who have no food, no money, no clothing, no shelter, health problems, and they go and they, provide stuff, and then they're vulnerable, and they're like, well, now we can share the love of Jesus with you. It's preying on the vulnerable. That's where religion, I think, becomes a pretty dangerous thing.
That's right. Yeah,
So.
I agree. But it has also religious people did the good things. I mean,
religious people do good things. There are a lot of
Yeah,
religious charities that are wonderfully altruistic, and they really do feel like the Lord has called us to save starving kids, what have you. But I think that they're, again,
they ask something else.
yeah, there is that element. The homeless shelters that you hear about, where there's the big debate in the whole faith-based initiative controversy, where the problem, you have these homeless shelters that guys go to get soup. But before they give them the food that they need because they're hungry, and before they let them take a shower, you got to sit through a 2-hour sermon, which just ain't right. We've got a captive audience. We're going to hook you. That's so. So you're going to find us, criticizing that quite a lot. But
but I think in some case for me, I need it, and other people will need like a bottle of whiskey to go through their pain.
Well, you've definitely
you found the better of the two.
Of those two options, what you've got is the better one. Is certainly. But we're not here to say look. We understand that individual people have their ways of dealing with things.
Yeah.
And if we're not here to say, oh well, it's wrong for you to feel in the heart the way you feel in your heart about this, that, or the other. If you want to present it to us as an argument or this, that, or the other, then we'll happily debate it to you. But no, we understand where you're coming from in terms of saying that a lot of people do feel this need to rely on.
Because otherwise there wouldn't be all these religious people. Not all people are stupid or anything, but it's just a need that's created.
There's an emotional appeal to religion that is next to impossible for most people to resist. Yeah.
What I just think bad about religion is, I think that religion was the cause of wars for centuries and centuries. That's the bad thing about it, because they use it to push people.
Those darn crusades, right? I mean, the Christians going after the Muslims, and now
and the Muslims, I don't care what it is, man.
And now that's what I mean. I don't know. I think that Osama bin Laden is exactly enough of an Islamic fanatic that he really thinks that that his terrorist organization is getting payback for what the Catholic Church did, 1,000 years ago with the Crusades.
Or maybe he doesn't think it. He just used that to move those people and to use them.
Well, he could do that, but I think that he probably really is that fanatical. I mean, it takes a fanatic to do what he's doing.
I don't know him personally.
Yeah, I think it takes a fanatic to do the things he's doing. And it's sort of like, let me, watch while I tell these guys, and they'll go off and blow up a building. See, got them. No, I don't think he probably, I'm sure he really does believe.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
As strongly as he does in his hyper fundamentalist, Islamic things. But okay, well, thanks a lot for your call.
Thank you for your show.
Sure.
Bye bye.
Yeah,
When will I learn? The answer to life's problems aren't at the bottom of a bottle. They're on TV.
How true. But again, we happen to realize that, again, a lot of people do, need to have a belief or something like that to make it through hard times. We also, since we don't believe in any gods, we don't think they actually got any strength or any help from any outside force. They did it themselves. They diverted that force in a slightly off-kilter way that we wouldn't do it, but they still have the energy to get through everything that they have gotten through in their life. Yeah.
Well, you know what I think it is, Ashley? I think it's, and Don Baker will probably, this would be a good thing I'd like to get his opinion on this, when he talks about memes, right? And Christianity is a meme. It's that the meme is sort of woven into our culture, right? Yeah. And so people, when you say that, religious people who say, well, God help me get through this crisis, they did it themselves, yeah. But they're giving credit to God because they've absorbed the meme, the cultural meme that, Christianity has, people need to rely on the higher power, their God, their heavenly Father, Harvey the Invisible Rabbit, whatever. It's you cannot, inner strength or just a person's just willingness to get out there and work and kick some ass and get out of their rut. Yeah. That's never enough.
Exactly.
I've read Christian writings and websites and the books and apologetics, and all of them harp on this theme, which is that human effort okay, is just inadequate at all times.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah. I mean, human effort is inadequate in all things. You know, when it comes right down to it, people just can't really achieve anything.
Yeah.
Anything positive in life, you know, without God doing it.
Yeah.
And it's this hammering of, and it's all about breaking down the self-esteem of the believer to make them more dependent emotionally and psychologically on the religion for their sense of well-being. And so when you know, and so it's all, oh, I can't, you know, well, we have to.
Thank God I got through that, you know, messy breakup or whatever.
Yeah.
You did it. Take a little credit.
Yeah, I mean, even if they did it by praying, it was like them, you know, engaging in this.
Their own horsepower got them through it.
Yeah.
So be glad.
So what I say is, you know, when to believers who use that, it's just like give yourself credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with giving yourself credit for things you do that are good for yourself. You know, nothing wrong with that. See what? Okay, I've had a breather. Time to talk to Jimmy. Hey, you're on the air.
Hi, folks. How you doing?
We're good.
Great. I don't know if you heard or not, but this past week, I saw it on Yahoo originally, earlier in the week, saying that meditators are happier people. I don't know if you guys heard about
Buddhists,
that.
yeah. I think someone did a study saying that Buddhists were like the happiest religious people.
Yeah.
And well, I guess if you're sitting around being mellow and zenning out all the time, you know, sure, you'd be happy. But again, you know, I think it was an interesting article to read. But again, I think it comes down to the point of, well, so, you know, I mean, you could make the argument that pot smokers are happier than non-pot smokers when they're smoking pot.
I think the way that I take it, how the story came about, is that, I'm not saying anything negative about Christians, but I'm saying that Christianity in its present form right now just doesn't go deep enough as the Eastern type of philosophies and religions. It seems like the Easterners are more, their form of religion does more for people and is more applicable to the higher force, the universal consciousness that'll really truly help people, give them what they really want.
Well, you know, Buddhism.
Physical, it's only spiritual. They cannot be happy with anything physical. Anything physical.
I know that's the. Buddhism doesn't have a God.
It's going to make you happy. It's got to be spiritual type of thing.
Yeah, well, you know, Buddhism doesn't have a God, right? So you're right in that. You know, Eastern religions you'll find are all about sort of turning inward, and you know, meditating. You know, look inward. And Western religions are very much rely on the all-powerful, you know, divine being who's up there somewhere looking down on you. So you're right. There's very much, you know, Western religion is, you know, focusing away from the individual. It's all about, you know, just to denigrate the value of the individual in favor of the higher power. And Eastern religions are exactly the opposite. It's all about inner strength, inner peace, you know, inner meditation, your own inner light, this, you know, inner everything.
Right.
So it's an interesting contrast. But again, you know, like I said, it'd be nice to have Brian Bazell, our religious studies major, back on the program. Maybe he can talk a bit about the differences between Western and Eastern religions. Yeah. And, you know, again, it's, you know, say Buddhism is probably the one religion in the world that you could call an atheist religion, and simply by virtue of the fact that they don't have a God they worship. Now, but they have other supernatural, you know, unproven concepts that I'm just as skeptical. You know, this whole idea of, you know, nirvana and what have you, and you know, past lives and reincarnation and all that sort of thing. But yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe there is. I have noticed that what you're talking about there, this lack of in Western religion, any sort of like a, you know, what the way Eastern religions focus on the inner spirituality aspect and trying to achieve a sort of higher sense of because what Western religions are all about is, oh, those other people who worship that other religion are bad, and we're good, and you need to tithe, and you need to send your money in, and you need to help us build our big rec center, and it's all about, you know, it's a very, American Christianity especially does seem to have this very superficial character to it, and because it's run, like anything else that's big in America, a business. So
well, I think that's one of the good things about living here in Austin is there's like a really, even on Access TV, like on channels 10, 11, and 16, you can see shows that basically talk about, you know, the Eastern style religious type of things, like meditating and all that. I don't know if you guys ever watch those type of shows, but I really get a lot out of them.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, there is something for everybody, and it's true that you don't. You're not going to get, a 24-hour a day, Buddhist or Taoist, network in this country as like we have 5 or 6 24-hour a day Christian networks. So, it's a little harder for the non-mainstream religions to get their voice, just as it's harder for the unreligious to have their voice out there. So we have to, but that's diversity makes the world go around. But all right, man. Well, anything else?
No, I guess that'll do it.
Okay. Well, thanks for your input. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as much as saying that, spirituality is the way to happiness and stuff like that, winning the lottery sure wouldn't hurt much. So.
Well,
let me prove it.
Yeah.
Give me a chance to show you I can be happy with money. So
the thing, I'm interested in what works, right? And what I can see demonstrated. Now some people will say, again, they'll take the Eastern spiritual approach and they'll turn inward and do their meditation and they'll do whatever. Yeah. And if some chemicals are involved, then there you go. But but it's still, again, it gets back to what you were saying before. It's still those people doing it themselves.
Yeah.
It's whatever spiritual or religious or completely secular means that you have of sort of coming to terms with life.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all you doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's just no outer force out there, giving you a guiding hand.
Yeah, if you want any proof of atheism, just realize that every religion in the world has happy people in it.
Yeah.
So they can't all be right.
Yeah.
Or unlikely, at least.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, Okay. Who's on line 1 here for us? Agnes? Agnes.
Okay.
Hi, you're on TV.
Yeah, hello. I'm a first-time caller, and I thought I'd have a good one on the scriptures for these Christians. If God is so perfect and he came down into the world, why was he in hell? And the person who explained that to me on the phone before he asked me if I wanted to be on the air told me that the excuse they would give, and it doesn't make any sense. All religion is just mind masturbation, mind controlling, mind molesting, and I studied a lot of Western religions and a lot of Eastern philosophy. Mm-hmm. And the way, I look at this Jesus guy, is he really knew how to be the center of attention by controlling these people. Don't you know who I am? Can't you see who I am? And just control these people. They have no freedom. Mm-hmm. I'm a person who's very happy, and I don't like to be into negativity. And these Christians, they can't stand to be around me because I'm so happy and free.
And we tend to perplex a lot of Christians who watch our show because they tune in and they see the atheist experience. And their stereotype of atheist is that we're all, a bunch of
bitter old men.
Yeah, raving lunatics. and they see a couple of guys sitting here chuckling and cutting up and cracking jokes and talking to people and having a good time. And I think that causes a lot of people to sort of stop surfing and maybe listen for a bit and sometimes pick up the phone. But yeah, I think that the most important thing is, to always be aware that you have the right to think. You have it's your prerogative, as a sentient being, right, to ask questions, to be critical thinkers about everything. And there is no dogma in the world so precious, that it cannot be overthrown, under any circumstances. And and when you talk about religion shackling your mind, that's when religion does present you with very strident dogmatic belief systems that say don't ever question this, right? Well, then it leads to this lunacy like creationism or Holocaust denial or whatever extreme that people want to take it to. It can be led to that extreme and be very, very damaging. The thing is, critical thinking applies across the board. There's no precept, there's no tenet or dogma, that is immune to critical thinking and skepticism.
Yeah.
Corrupt minds. They're so into S&M. It's unreal. Who is? They really thrive on that.
Who is?
Man, I'm in the wrong group.
Yeah. Wow.
And if any father loved his son, why would he have him nailed to the cross? I personally don't.
Well, he did it for you.
Well, he did it to
for
himself.
You. Don't you realize?
He did it to himself for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to take my son's hand and put him on the stove, not even for you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good.
And you know
We're happy to hear that. Yeah.
I really enjoy your show because y'all's real. Y'all are you, like you said.
Yeah.
And y'all's happy. And I've been watching y'all for a long time. And there's this one Christian says, "Do you ever watch their show?" Well, I didn't want to get into it. It's none of his business.
Well, next time say, yeah, I do. But, hey, we appreciate you watching the show, Agnes, and hope to hear from you again, all right?
Okay, you certainly will. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for calling.
Okay.
That was fun.
Donna on 2. Hey, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. First off, I have to say you guys have the most educational show that I've ever seen. I moved here from Illinois, and we don't have anything like that back home.
Oh. Well, cool. We beat out PBS.
Uh-oh.
Okay. And my question is, what is the difference between atheism and being agnostic?
Okay. That's a fact question. Agnosticism, just really quickly, is, Gnosticism and agnosticism are terms that have to do with what you think the extent of the limits of human knowledge are. So it's an epistemological claim, right?
Okay.
An agnostic is somebody who says, I don't know, and I admit that I don't know whether or not any sort of divine supernatural beings exist. But theism and atheism have to do with what a person believes or doesn't believe. So you have one is an agnosticism and Gnosticism are epistemological claims. Atheism and theism are metaphysical claims having to do with what you believe as opposed to what you think you can know. I've spoken to a lot of agnostic theists. I think Corrina.
Most of them are.
I think Corrina. Well, I think if
I would expect
if everyone
that
were to
most
be
of them
perfectly
are.
honest, if people were to be perfectly honest, I think everyone, would have to admit, no, I don't know.
I don't know for a
but
fact.
I just believe. So. And so I've talked to a lot of agnostic theists. I would describe myself as agnostic and atheist.
Yeah.
So it's possible to be a spiritual agnostic. You can believe in something such as a higher power.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Yet, because you don't know if that necessarily exists,
exactly,
it's possible.
Exactly.
Very much so. I don't know very anymore. Since not in my church going days, very many people whom I would describe as in my circle of close friends, as Christians or people who follow a specific religion. But I do have a lot of friends who are exactly that. They're agnostic, but they have their own individually defined ideas of spirituality or the divine. That it's really vague, but it works for them, and they're not ones. Well, I don't believe in Jesus, I don't believe in Christianity, but I think there's probably something out there, and at that point the conversation kind of stops. So it's like that's as far as they go with it, and maybe that would be agnostic spiritual.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is because I've just entered into Narcotics Anonymous, and one of their steps is made a decision to turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understand Him. And that gets, for me, I never had a good experience in church. I came from a hellfire and brimstone church, which really bummed me out. I had a really
That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it fills the pews and it makes the money.
Bum you out, make you dependent on them for your happiness.
And for me to put, I would rather be an agnostic that believes that that there is a power out there that can keep me from going out there and
what's wrong with your power? But again, I'll just we only have a couple minutes, but let me just hit you with what's wrong with the power being in you? What's wrong with the power being Donna? I mean, Donna determining whatever's wrong in my life right now, I'm just going to make it better, and it's going to be tough. But, I don't want, where if I'm at a place in my life where I'm not happy, I'd rather be in a place where I am happy.
That's the good part, Martin.
Yeah.
It's just my best got me in some really messed up situations.
And those are experiences you learn from, right?
Yeah.
You say, okay, that was a choice I made then. I file that away now, future reference, and I don't do it anymore. But again, I think that I'm not going to tell you how to do your thing. And I think, and you're going to have a thing that works for you, but I'm going to say, here's just as a suggestion.
We have faith in people.
Yeah, let the power above be Donna. I mean, let that be the power to get you through what you're going through. That's just a suggestion.
Okay.
I can't, just, because I think you can do it.
Well, I appreciate that.
I have faith in you.
I appreciate you guys. And by the way, I will continue to watch your show, and thank you for helping me.
Sure, and call us anytime, all right?
All right,
take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay. We had a cute thing at the end of the show, but I'd rather not because I want to talk about more stuff because I just love to hear the sound of my gums flapping. Just again in our last minute to sign off and say thanks to our great crew and everybody turning up and in the control room. And remind everyone about TV at atheist-community.org is your viewer feedback email address to send us mail and chew us out. And if you send us a cool letter, We'll read it out on the air, and I know some people thought that, I pounded on Jordan, our last letter writer, but, don't let that stop you from, maybe you have a better argument than Jordan. Maybe you've interpreted the Bible properly, where Jordan hasn't. But maybe thanks again. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Here go our love rings, our magic spiritual love rings out to Austin. Theists, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. Bye. Next time.